Okay, hello again. I'm back. Today I'm gonna be complaining and yapping. I'm in the chair again. This is like the only thing I use this chair for, but I'm gonna be yapping. Sorry for that noise. It's not in my apartment. It's outside. Stupid fire alarm. Anyways, we're yapping again. So today I'm complaining about the current creative directors and a lot of these new creative directors. And how I just think it's really lackluster and it's presented a really uninteresting and extremely boring view into fashion, and we're going nowhere, it seems. So, I want to first focus on Gucci. Oh my god, thing is so loud. Anyways, Gucci is now creatively directed by Sabato De Sarno. And if anybody knows, go look at my Patreon, first of all. Shameless plug. I don't love Sabato. I want him to do good. I actually like some of his stuff. I can't lie. Some of the pieces are great pieces. Some of the styles are really cool. But my issue is that there's no direction. It's absolutely not going anywhere. It's good to look at mostly. He just showed his show 2 days ago for menswear, and honestly his menswear shows I've liked more than his womenswear shows, but this last one was not good. I looked through it multiple times, and every time I looked through it, I tried to find a full look that I even liked, and there was never a full look that I liked, and it was just uninteresting and boring and not going anywhere, to the point of some of them even being bad. Ooh, someone said it. Like, I feel like nobody's critical either of these people. So that's my first thing. Secondly, we have Louis Vuitton, directed by Pharrell Williams. Now, this stuff, honestly, it's just menswear, so I think it's nice that he's able to focus just on menswear. And to be kind of honest, I don't dislike it as much because it feels far more obvious. The references feel obvious. The theme of each collection is very obvious. Like, we had the cowboy one, we had like a swim one, like a vacation swim one, and most recently, also like yesterday, it was kind of sports aviator themed. Girl, I don't know. But the references, although they're jumbled together, they feel direct. And I appreciate that a little bit more. But it's nothing interesting. It's fully just going to be that it's going to sell. If it sells. I don't know. We'll get to that. And then lastly, I think the only other person that I kind of wanted to talk about, and I didn't want to bash too hard, was Sean McGirr at, or McGirr, however you say his name, at Alexander McQueen, or as he changed it, McQueen. I don't have much to say. He's only had one season so far, so I can't bash him too much. But out of that season, I didn't like it. So, I don't know. It was less commercial to me than all the rest, but it still didn't feel super exciting or interesting, and a lot of it felt like very derivative visions of what McQueen was. Whatever. But that leads me to my actual point of this video, and that's to say that commercialism in shows has killed the fashion industry, or is killing the fashion industry. Because we've seen it go further and further into these extremely retail collections. And this is my biggest issue with Sabato De Sarno, is that he says that he doesn't want a creative direction, really. He doesn't want to tell a story. He just wants to make good clothes that you can incorporate into your closet. And while I admire that, actually, that he wants people to come to it with their own style, he wants people to come to it and put these pieces into their wardrobe instead of selling full looks, when you are a creative director, you have to direct, and if you are not doing your job, you need to get. Recently, we just saw this at Chanel. I think the biggest critique with Chanel was that it was extremely boring and it just felt very commercial. Dior is the same way, I feel, where everything feels directly what you're going to see in store, commercial, like it's going to sell mentality. And I think it's kind of funny because I have a positive approach to this with certain brands where it's like what you see on the runway is what you're getting in the stores. And so it's like directly commercial. I said it about Miu Miu, I said it about Prada, how like most of the stuff is not this elaborate design that you're never gonna see, and it's gonna be like a derivation of it in the stores. But for some, it's become so uninteresting, especially with Gucci, who has a decent history with having interesting clothes, a direction that they push. Almost every director since they've started clothing under Tom Ford really has pushed a certain vision of what they think the brand should be based on kind of where the house is. I think Alexander McQueen had a very strong vision of what he wanted each season to be and what he wanted the house to look like each season. And the direction changed kind of each season, but it stayed in the realm of like what McQueen stood for. Sarah Burton was also good at kind of keeping this idea up, and while it got commercial and relatively uninteresting sometimes, she still kept it going to where it felt different from the pack. McQueen felt different, and you could tell what McQueen was. You could tell what Gucci was. And now, everyone looks the same because everyone's trying to push the most uninteresting commercial retail options, and it's sad to see that. So when I think of Sabato de Sarno's Gucci, I think, when I see the collections, I see, okay, this is going to be in store, and this is like the retail offering that kind of comes after the show. So most of the time with runway shows, you get the show and you kind of get these show pieces and you get these things that are a little bit more elaborate, and then buyers, whatever, do their work. And later in stores, you'll see some variation of those pieces, and then you'll see a bunch of like retail pieces that are derived from the design and derived from the language of the show, but visually they're less interesting, they're more sellable, they're more wearable. And that's great. If you want to keep that in the retail, that's great. But my issue is that now every single look, every single piece in the Gucci show looks like the retail offering. And it's like, so where are we gonna go? Like, where are we taking this? Especially when it's like boring, just here's a blazer, here's some shorts, here's a polo shirt, here are the exact boots you're gonna get in store. And it's not even like styled super interestingly, which I think that's one of my bigger critiques of him as well, is that whoever is styling Gucci right now, gotta go. It's boring. I don't think I've ever seen a designer brand switch so like hard, but I think it's because so many of these brands are so pushed by corporate greed, and these big conglomerates, especially Gucci, was making the most money for carrying. So when they start to lose money, which they're still losing money, even with Sabato de Sarno's collections in stores, which a lot of people are saying, oh, well, they're not in stores yet, or they've just now gotten in stores. They've been in stores for a while now, and the company is still losing money. Losing money as if it's like still not $1 billion business, whatever. But I think somewhere that we can, even in Caring, which McQueen is also under Caring, so that's another one. Balenciaga is under Caring as well. I don't know why I have my iPad. There's no purpose. I'm not looking at notes. But Balenciaga is also under Caring, and I would think, we see these kind of like bigger things, and then obviously it's a lot of retail things styled together, and there's stuff that makes it into retail. But the one thing I always admire, at least about a Balenciaga show, is that it's a show. There's a direction. There's something being pushed, and there's a vision being pushed on these people. Same thing with Prada. I mean, Prada always pushes some kind of vision, and they make their pieces directly available in retail, and they might tweak them a little bit, but at least in the show, they're still interesting for those who get it and understand and want to see that vision. But when you've created houses that are entirely based on, what is selling, you lose out, and I think you actually get behind because you're so focused on seeing what other people are selling and making something that replicates what other people are selling, and you get in the cycle of, okay, so this is selling from another brand and this is selling from another brand, so let's basically make a mood board of what's selling and create things that are almost exactly like it. And with DeSarno specifically, again, check out my Patreon, but with his latest collection, again, he showed almost exact replica looks of Prada and Miu Miu shows in the past 3 years. And it's just like, it's so uninspired and it's not pushing any direction, where at least with these other places, they were still pushing a direction. But then you take those things and say, oh, I don't want a direction. I don't want to push anything on you. That's your job. And I'm not going to fully blame it on just the designers, but I think DeSarno would be great at... Sorry, that beep is killing me. DeSarno is great at designing. I think he should be a design director. I don't think he should be a creative director. Don't put these people in positions, and I know this is also the same thing, corporate greed. Don't put these people in the positions if you don't want them to do their jobs. And if they get in those jobs and don't want to do those jobs, boot, chop. But that's really how I feel about it, is that so many of these big brands have become so commercialized. And you see it in contrast to people like Loewe, where Loewe has these very extravagant showpieces, but then they actually sell those. They may not sell everything, and some of them might just be custom looks for whatever, but they're kind of boring pieces a little bit. Like, they're not the most interesting thing in the world, but they're selling because they're interesting and they're pushing a direction, they're pushing something. And when you never do that, you're never gonna get anywhere. And it's not a surprise that a lot of these brands that are pushing the most already existing clothes and already existing styles and just putting them down the runway, it feels like a joke. But it's no surprise that they're actually losing money. Because if everyone looks the same, what's going to differentiate a Gucci look of this from a Prada look that was done 2 years ago? What's going to differentiate, this Louis Vuitton from this and these other, brands? If you're trying to cash in on the Zegna, Loro Piana, quality thing, which is what a lot of these brands are pushing now, is oh, our quality's really good, so we don't have to push a look. People already have those brands that they go to. People aren't going to Gucci because, one, Gucci doesn't have a great reputation of quality. So yeah, you can change it and you can raise your prices as well, but that doesn't mean that people are gonna go to your brand because suddenly now you're saying something. They already have it. They already filled that space in their wardrobe. So that's just my complaint. I think people need to do better. I think we need to be seeing things that get pushed, because across the industry, in even editorials in magazines, and then now in styling in the shows, we're just seeing the most direct, obvious visions of what these things are. And I think a lot of people are getting bored. If I'm bored, I can't be the only one. So we need to stop being boring. Stop pushing boredom, because people are bored and people are going to start seeing through it and people are going to stop buying. And I think it's going to be a lot of these brands' biggest downfalls if they continue on this greedy route of what's the most retail offering that we can show, what's the most uninteresting thing we can show, and how can we push quality and raising our prices? How can we push that as much as possible? Because people see it and they go, there's no point. I can get a mid-tier thing that's good quality with the same design. I can get a different one that's a more established brand that is better known for their quality. So, in conclusion, I'd like to say, cut the corporate greed, cut the corporate crap. let people design, let people have fun, because we need it. We need it. We need beauty. We need fun. We need excitement, and we need to be pushed, because pushing for TikTok trends is not going to make you a successful business. It's going to put you on a trend cycle, and it's going to put you into the crowd of people who are doing the exact same things, and what's that going to do? Anyways, check out my Patreon. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, do whatever you want. And I can see if you're watching. Don't forget, YouTube analytics are my favorite, by the way. But anyways, thanks. Everything will be linked below.